Hello, I'm doing a movie review, and the movie I want to review is Begotten. Now, Begotten is a 1990 experimental-surrealist horror film written and directed by Elias Merhige, I'm not really sure how to say his last name. Now, besides doing short films and music videos, this director has only done two other feature films. He directed Shadow of the Vampire in 2000 and Suspect Zero in 2004. Now, this is a highly experimental film, and this is not a movie for everybody, and I say that a lot when I review these kinds of films, but in the case of this movie, I definitely mean that. Even if you typically like movies like this, I could still see somebody finding this film to be kinda tedious, because it's only a little over an hour long, but it feels longer because a lot of the shots in the film and a lot of what happens in the film is kind of repetitive, and there's also no dialogue in the film, so I could see some people having problems with this. Now, I liked this movie. I like this movie a lot, but it's a film that you definitely kind of have to have the right mindset. Now, physical copies of this movie are actually kind of hard to come by. This DVD that I have is actually a DVD-R burnt from a VHS. I got this copy of the movie at a convention a few months ago. Now, besides the VHS release of this, there was actually an official DVD of this, and I want to say 2000 or 2001, however that quickly went out of print. Now, fortunately, you can watch the movie here on YouTube. Now, I could totally see somebody like Criterion putting this movie out. At the same time, though, I kinda don't want to see a really pristine, cleaned up copy of this film, because I kinda like that, even though I didn't actually watch it on VHS, I did watch it on something that was burnt from a VHS, and that gave it this real, like, grimy quality where it almost felt like I was watching a snuff film or something that you shouldn't be watching, like something you found in some dingy old basement. And I don't know if you would get that same feeling if you were watching this on some pristine, high-definition Blu-ray. Now, this movie would actually make a great double feature with something like David Lynch's Eraserhead. And the film has been compared to Eraserhead. There was actually a review of this movie at the time that said that it makes Eraserhead look like Ernest Saves Christmas. I think compared to this movie, Eraserhead is definitely a more accessible film. Now, the plot of Begotten is it begins with this being that is apparently God in this dilapidated old house, and he's mutilating himself, and eventually he dies. Then a woman is born from God's body. This woman represents Mother Earth. Now, the woman, or Mother Earth, I don't know any other way to say this that doesn't sound blasphemous, but she literally jerks off God's corpse, and then she inseminates herself with God's semen. She ends up giving birth to a son and then leaves him. Then the son is found by these people who, throughout the course of the film, proceed to systematically torture him. And that's really the plot of the movie. You see the Son of the Earth, or the Son of God, being brutally tortured throughout the film. Now, this is an art house film in the purest definition, where you really do have to bring something to the table. It's almost like a poem, or a painting, or a song, where you have to really look at it and be like, okay, what does this all mean? Like, you really do have to make your own interpretation of it. And obviously there are a lot of religious parallels in this story. I mean, God is a character in the beginning of the film. And the Son of the Earth definitely seems to represent Jesus. Like, the whole movie almost feels like this twisted, perverted parody of the crucifixion story and the suffering that Christ endured. But there are also some parallels with the Genesis story, like the whole idea of a woman being born from the body of a man. Like, there are some obvious Adam and Eve parallels going on there. Now, because the movie begins with God killing himself, you could interpret it as a possible anti-religious message, like maybe the film saying God is dead. Like, you see God die and it makes way for Mother Earth, so maybe the movie's saying that there is no God, there is only nature. Or you can interpret the film as sort of a statement about how religion has really been perverted and twisted throughout the centuries. Like, throughout history, people have killed in the name of God, God, and religion has been used as an excuse for violence or an excuse to go to war. And I would like to believe that if there is a God, God wouldn't be all for that. So you could interpret all this torture that the Son of the Earth is enduring as sort of a representation of how organized religion has kind of twisted and perverted Christ's original teachings. But aside from all the religious allegories in the film, I also saw some environmental allegories. Like, you have Mother Earth as a character within this movie, and you could even say the Son of the Earth represents the Earth as well, and you could interpret all the torture that you see this character endure as sort of a representation of how, throughout mankind's history, we have constantly ravaged the Earth. There's also a point during his torture where the Son of the Earth is literally puking out his guts, and these people are accepting his organs as gifts. And you can interpret that as mankind constantly taken from the Earth, but never given back. There's also a point in this movie where the character of Mother Earth is raped by these people, so it's mankind literally raping the Earth. So there are so many different themes and interpretations that you could take from this movie, or you could interpret it as maybe the director was just trying to be weird for weird's sake and shocking for shocking's sake, and maybe it doesn't mean anything. I will say the rape scene is actually pretty disturbing and pretty uncomfortable. Even though you don't properly get to know this character, like, she's not properly a character, she's a metaphor. All the characters in this movie are really metaphors for something else. But Begotten, it's a creepy film, it's a disturbing film. If you're really looking at the hidden meanings, it's also a pretty nihilistic film. But there is an odd beauty to the film as well, especially by the end of the film when you get this real sense that, you know what? Life on this planet is still gonna go on, even when we're gone. Again, this is not a movie for everybody. If it sounded like it's up your alley, then check it out, but if how I described it does not appeal to you, then I guess stay away. Now, Elias Merhige, or however he says his last name, did a sequel to this in 2006 called Den of the Celestial Birds, which was a short film, and it's an absolutely beautiful short, and it is available on YouTube. So that was my review on Begotten, and bye.